Right. So the second part in presentation skills. What's the second P in presentation skills? Prepare. So in our last class, we discussed what is meant by presentation, where we need presentation skills, how we need to demonstrate or how we need to give the presentation, and what is the plan we need to keep in mind. That is what the concept we discussed. And I have given a small equation of 4P method, right? So in that 4P method, we discussed the first P, that is nothing but plan. So how to plan yourself. So what are the things you need to think about before the planning? So what are the things you need to really think about while you are doing the planning? Right now we are talking about preparation, second part of the presentation, prepare. Right. So what you need to prepare and what are the things you need to take into account while you are preparing for any presentation? Before we are going to deliver any presentation, we should prepare well, right? So how you need to prepare and what are the things you need to keep in mind while going for presentation? So what are the things you need to think about for correct or apt preparation? So first point under preparation is source of information. So we need to think about source of information. The source of information is like books or library, internet or case studies, or interviewing with others, talking with friends, talking with a persons who are concerned to that particular aspect. So it's nothing but case study or interviewing, right? So first of all, the first step in preparation is collect the information. Whatever the data we want to execute, whatever the data we want to present, whatever the data, whatever the information you want to deliver in front of the audience, what we need to do is we need to first collect the data. We need to collect the data. So for collecting the data, you can depend on any sources like books or library, internet, case studies, interviews, like so any kind of things you can use. But your ultimate goal should be collect an apt data, correct information, accurate data, right? So and you need to think about aids. So what are the teaching aids you are going to use in the presentation? You need to think about them. You need to collect them. Like you need to, for example, uh, charts, graphs, audio visual aids. A is nothing but audio visual aids, projectors, display boards, markers, dusters, right? So if you are using any screen touch material, then you need to uh, think about all the sources, right? So before you are going to start the presentation, you need to have a clear idea about what are the things you need to use in the presentation. For every presentation, there will be a lot of teaching aids we need to use. So as per your presentation, according to your presentation, what are the things we need to have in handy? What are the things we need to have in handy before we are going to start the presentation? This is what the concept called preparation. For example, if you are delivering a presentation on the stocks, for example, you are going to give a presentation on stocks. In that case, you need to think about what are the companies are there and so how the graph is increasing and decreasing. You can talk about day by day, or you can talk about weekly, or you can talk about monthly, or you can talk about year wise also. So annually. So like that, you need to have different graphs and you need to think about so what kind of colors you need to use while you are executing a chart. So for example, if you are using a bar graph, bar chart, in that case, so you need to use different colors to indicate the companies or to indicate different products. So to indicate every aspect, we need to have a proper scale. So what are the things you are mentioning on x-axis? What are the things you are mentioning on y-axis? So how the products are changing day by day, which is the least product, I mean, which is getting least income, which is getting more revenue. So which company is in the monotonous way, which is getting very popular day by day, like that. So you should have a clear data, right? Whatever the data you want to execute, you should prepare that before you are going to deliver the presentation. Before you are going to give the presentation before the audience, you need to have a complete clear picture about your topic. Not only that, and you should already think about what kind of questions, what kind of doubts your audience may get. So that concept also you should keep in mind. All right, that is what called preparation. Now let us talk about the third aspect, practice. So generally, you can practice yourself in two ways, individual or team. So the individual presentation practice or practice of presentation. So how you can do that individually? For example, if you just need to stand in front of a mirror and you just need to look at yourself and then you need to talk to yourself. Your audio should audible to your ears. Your voice should audible to your ears. Why we are asking to audible yourself? Because while you are pronouncing the words, you will be able to understand where you are pronouncing correctly, where you are committing some mistakes, some errors. So you can easily identify, and then while you are going to deliver your actual presentation, in that case you can overcome all these problems. You can remove all these problems. All right. And the second method, team presentation. Individual presentation, individual practice or team practice. So team practice is nothing but you need to pick up a group of people where you can get your pros and cons, your positives and negatives. All right. So the participants or your audience should always be ready to give your positives and negatives. They should give a structured, a qualified feedback. They should give you a proper feedback. Right? A proper feedback in the sense they should give you how to overcome your mistakes and what are the reasons for that mistakes, and they have to give you a qualitative analysis. Then only you will be able to overcome those problems. So you need to be cautious while you are picking up the audience. All right. So this is about practice, but when it comes to the actual presentation, you may not be given the opportunity to pick up the audience, right? So before you are going to give the presentation, it's a good idea to practice yourself, right? So practice with the aids which you are going to use. So it's a good idea to practice with the aids, whatever the things we are going to use. For example, we are going to use the charts. So you need to make use of them. So when to start, then when to use the charts, when to use markers, when to use the duster, when to use, so for every concept, you need to have a clear picture in your mind. For example, you are using a graph, right? So you already have a graph in your aids, teaching aids, but if you don't practice with that, if there are any flaws, if there are any mistakes, what happens? While you are giving the presentation, if you get any mistake, if you find any mistake in the graph, then automatically it will little down, and then automatically your presentation will goes down. Your presentation also goes down. So now what you need to do is, if you practice by using your graph even before the presentation, actual presentation in the practice itself, then automatically you'll be able to identify the mistakes. You'll be able to identify the pros and cons of your presentation. Then if there are any modifications, it's nothing but it's a kind of proofreading of your presentation, right? So if you practice with that chart or with whatever the aids you are going to use in that presentation, then automatically you will be able to understand the concept very clear. And then in the time at the time of actual presentation, then automatically you'll be able to speak on that graph easily without any hesitation. So whatever the teaching aids you are using, like projectors, charts, graphs, images, right? Whatever you want to use, all are acceptable, but you need to have a clear idea about those aids. For example, if you want to talk about if you are using a projector, in that case you should know whether it is working well or not, right? So for example, sometimes what happens is while using the projectors, you may get some technical issues, right? So you need to check at once whether the projector is working really well or not, right? Even you should think about all the options, all the modes, how the project race looks like, so whether it is giving a clear picture or whether you need to get any upgradation for that, right? So everything you need to know. And even sometimes that is why I said before the presentation, it's a good idea to go and visit the auditorium or the place where you are going to deliver your actual presentation before one day. Because if you go and check at once there, so what are the things are there in that room, like the seating arrangements, and sometimes, for example, if you want to use the projector, you need to think about, you need to check at once the plug sockets, right? So the power supply, how the power supply will be there. So whether it will be continuously or whether there will be any power shortages. So and you need to think about what kind of plug board is there, right? So if there are already projectors installed, right, in that case you need to check at once whether that projector is suitable to your laptop or the system, whatever the system you are using, whether it is compatible to your system or not. You need to check at once. You need to think about all the things and you need to check at once all the things. Then only you will be able to do it well. So if you do the first step, what is the first step? Plan. Then second step, prepare. Then third step, practice. Right? So if you do these three steps, if you do these three steps perfectly, your presentation, the fourth step will go happy, without any hesitation, without any problem. You can do it well. But still there are some more problems. We will talk about it now. Right? So practice. Right? Practice, continuation. Now you need to think about body language. You need to think about body language. So how your body language should be? If you observe on the screen, I have given three pictures. All right. So what is the apt style or what is the apt posture you need to use for presentations? You just look at the pictures and then give me which is the good posture, which is the right posture to talk about.
One is unable to see, sir. That is the red picture.
Okay.
Is unable to see.
You're not able to see the first one?
No, sir, no. Because your video is on that first picture.
You can control that, ma'am. You don't need to worry about that. So on the videos.
Yes, 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 sir. Yes, yes, we can. I can. Yes.
So whatever it's showing on my display, I can control that. Whatever it is showing on your display, you can control that.
Okay.
The rest, everything I can control.
Yes.
All right. So which is the right position? Which is the correct posture to be used for presentations? Which is the correct way?
First, sir.
First one, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes.
So first one is the correct version. So you need to think about the postures and gestures. So postures, how to stand, how to use your body language, right? So if you observe here, the person has different postures, right? The way he sit, all different, right? If we observe all these things, automatically we can easily understand that in the first picture, what do you think if you look at this guy? So there are four persons sat on the chairs, right? So I'm talking about the second picture. In the second picture, what do you think about the first person? This guy. By looking at him, what do you feel and how do you feel? So do you feel that he is eagerly awaiting for the interview, or he is very interested, or what do you feel about this picture? By looking at this picture, what do you feel?
He is waiting for his number.
Okay, he is waiting for his number. Any other answers? Right.
And was thinking also what is inside is going.
Exactly. He is almost, by looking at him, we can easily understand that he is little exhausted. He's feeling little bored, right? By
Yes.
observing his head and the folding arms, we can easily understand that he is feeling a little bit exhausted or a little bit embarrassed, right?
Yes.
The second picture, he is feeling completely bored.
Much bored.
Yes. Next,
By getting
sleepy.
bored, he slept.
Sleepy. Third one, sleepy. Then
Yes.
fourth one,
Waiting when we have to go.
almost he is going to give up the situation,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So,
Yes.
and even the third picture, he dressed well, right? He is giving nice presentation, but if you observe him, the way he stands,
Yeah.
he is leaning on the podium, right?
Mm.
So leaning
Yes.
on the podium is not a proper way of posture. It's not a proper posture for presentations. We should
Okay.
never ever lean on the posture. I mean podium. Once we
We should.
once we lean on the podium in a sense, it looks, it gives an indication that you are not confident and you are not so interested and you are not well prepared, and moreover that it shows that uh, you're already exhausted, you're already tired of that topic. So it will give many types of expressions, right? So we should never ever lean on the podium. All right.
Sir, this third picture this body language may express that he is overconfident or he want to show his attitude.
Exactly. Showing of attitude. Right.
Yes.
Next, gestures. So we are mostly we always think about the postures, but we forget, sometimes we forget gestures. So gestures nothing but hand movements and facial expressions. Hand movements and facial expressions. So how our facial expressions should be? For example, I'm talking to you now. While I'm talking to you, my mouth has been talking to you, but if I observe here and there, how do you feel? Do you feel comfortable?
No, sir.
The next moment you may get a doubt why he is looking here and there. What is there? What's
Yes.
happening around
Yes.
him? All right.
Yes.
So these kind of unnecessary doubts will create in the audience. If the audience are in dilemma or if the audience are in a deep doubt, then they can't be able to listen to us. If they don't listen to us, then our job, the actual job is presentation, then it's go off, right? It's always go off. It's automatically goes off. That is why,
Frequently movement is also not good, sir.
yes, continuous movement is also not good.
Yes, continuous movement is also not good.
Yes.
Yes.
But you can move a little, but it's not a far movements. Few cases you can move. A little movement can be acceptable, but not continuous movements. If you are continuously moving here and there in the sense, that indicates you are very nervous.
And the audience in audience, the person who were sitting if we continuous move from right to left, their eyeballs
They
are
can't look
also
at us.
go from
They
right
can't
and
look
he
at
will
us.
get tired. They will get
Exactly.
tired.
Exactly. They can't look at us. So let me give you my personal experience. When I started teaching, I had that habit of walking on the stage continuously. The whole hour I used to walk on the stage here and there. Right? I continuously I was speaking and I have been walking on the stage. And then I realized this is not the actual way. right? So then after I could stand for the whole day, I can stand in the same place.
Yes, sir.
So I practiced that. Very good. Right. Facial expressions. We are talking about facial expressions. How our facial expressions should be. If you just look at the screen, you'll be able to understand different facial expressions. All right. But how our facial expressions should be. Don't show any strong emotions on your face at any point of time. We should never ever show any strong emotions on the face. Either it might be happy, either it might be disheartened, sad, whatever. We should never ever show the facial expressions, strong emotions on the face. Should always maintain a small smile. I mean, a little smile over your face. Should always maintain a little smile, right?
Yes.
Always you should maintain a little smile over your face. It shows that you are feeling comfortable to interact with the audience, and it will give the audience a little liberty to interact with you. They can create, I mean, the small little smile can create an environment where the audience feel comfortable to interact with the speaker, with the person who is delivering the presentation, right? So we should always maintain a little smile on the face, and we should maintain proper eye contact also, right? For form. So whatever we practiced so far, it might be in a first stage, plan, in the second stage, prepare, third stage, practice. So whatever we have done so far from the beginning, that should be executed, that should be delivered on the proper manner. Then automatically you'll be able to do it well. That is what called performance. Any doubts?
No.
Very good. So now, right. So in the presentations, we need to remember a few more points, very important points. Like, for example, you have given the time. Before the presentation, you have given the time for half an hour or 40 minutes, right? So you prepared for half an hour or 40 minutes presentation. But all of the sudden, chief minister or prime minister visiting the same meeting, right? Wherever you are going to give the presentation, in the same meeting, chief minister or prime minister is visiting, right? In that case, they'll consume half an hour time, right? So before your presentation, definitely they'll be given at least 10 to 15 minutes or at least half an hour time they will be given. Okay, so we can consider any delegate who is visiting. In that case, they'll be given some time. So automatically your presentation time should be reduced. Okay, you already planned for 40 minutes. You already planned for, whatever the time you have given, half an hour or 40 minutes. You already planned properly. You already prepared well, and you practiced really well. But when it comes to the actual presentation, they have given a different time. For example, you have given 40 minutes, but now they are asking you for only 10 minutes presentation. In that case, how can you handle that problem? How can you handle that problem?
We
So
should
earlier they have given you 40 minutes, but now they are asking you, they are restricting you for only 10 minutes presentation. Then how can you do that?
we will have to curtail our content.
Exactly, we have to curtail our content, right? And if you really practiced well, automatically you will be able to understand where to curtail, where to adjust, where to squeeze the concept, right?
Yes.
So you will take out unnecessary points, you will take out unnecessary points, and then you can give only 10 minutes presentation. Even sometimes they'll ask you the presentation, the same presentation, they'll ask you only for 5 minutes. Then you can do that if you practice well. This is one condition. In other hand, completely contrast condition. Actually, they planned for half an hour time. The minister, due to some urgent work, he is not attending. The minister is not attending. So they are begging you to take the same presentation for more than 2 hours. Earlier, they have given only half an hour time for the presentation. Now they are asking you for 2 hours, 2 hour presentation. Then how can you do that? Then again, chunk, right? The best way for presentation, chunking method. So whatever the time you have given, you need to chunk the process, the whole process. And then you can elaborate a little bit. Then automatically you can do the presentation. This is another concept. And the third situation, it's completely a little bit disturbing, a little bit uneasy situation. So for example, sometimes what happens is, they planned different way. They have given half an hour time, right? So they expected the minister after your presentation. They have given the presentation. They have given you half an hour time for the presentation. After your presentation, they are expecting the minister. But what happened is, you started the presentation, 10 minutes completed, or 20 minutes or half of the presentation completed, still only half of the presentation remained. In that case, the organizer of the meeting, they'll come and they'll ask you, they'll give you a small proposal that minister is not able to attend today, so you need to continue the class for 20 minutes to 2 hours. In that case, what you can do? On spot, you need to change the approach. On spot, you need to change the plan.
Sir, we will involve our audience.
Exactly. That is what I'm
Members
saying.
who are
On spot, you need to think about it and you need to plan accordingly. And for that situation, the best way what you can do is, so for example, already 20 minutes program completed. Your presentation 20 minutes program completed. Then, if you have given this kind of difficult situation, you can do some activities.
Yes.
You can conduct some activities. And
we will focus on interaction.
Exactly. If you conduct some activities, automatically all the audience will involve in that activity. Meanwhile, the presenter will given some time for relaxation. So in that time, the presenter can think about it and he can replan.
Yes.
Right? And one more, the best way what we can do is, for example, you have been giving your serious presentation. All of a sudden you forgot a concept. All of a sudden you forgot the concept. In that case, what we can do? You have been giving a serious presentation. All of a sudden you forgot the concept. In that case, what you can do? Can we stop the presentation? No, we can't be able to stop the presentation because all the audience are eagerly waiting for us. Can we hold the audience to check out your information? We can do that also. If you stop all of the sudden, then automatically their energy levels drops, right? So again, that can cause in negative way. So what can we do? In that case also, again, you can do one activity.
We will revise.
See, what you are going to deliver, you only know that, none other than you may know that concept. So what you can do in that case also is, you just simply all of a sudden jump into the activity. Let's start one activity. Let's understand this concept in a better manner. Let's start one activity. They'll all involve in the activity. Then you can refer the concept where you forgot it. Then again, you can continue your presentation. These are the simple shortcuts you need to keep in mind whenever you are giving any presentation. Is it clear
Sir,
so far?
presence of mind is very necessary. We should be
Exactly,
very
ma'am.
aware.
So
Very aware.
whatever the performance we are giving on the stage, presence of mind it's mandatory. 100% we should be presence of mind. If you miss somewhere, then automatically our presentations we can't be able to predict what's going to happen, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
we should always be ready for all sorts of alteration, whether you need to curtail it or whether you need to elaborate it. You should be ready for that, and you should be spare some time for these kind of disturbances in the presentation also.
Sir, I am experiencing in online courses. The main difficulties is the net problem, sir.